and change his face and try to make some sort of political improvement in Egypt, while people are still not trusting all what they declared. The Vice President, Omar Suleiman, when he talked before yesterday, he thinks himself like the real president of Egypt and the one who has the power, while and lying and saying that everything had been achieved while nothing had been achieved. And also, while they are talking about improvement, they are still trying to attack people and to kill people with real bullets.
Omar, let me ask you, I mean, are people starting to go back to work? And are people fed up now with the protests because they want to go back to work?
Okay, they are trying to push, or the regime is trying to use all his weapons to get people tired, to get people under the pressure of their work, under the pressure of their daily life demands. They tried before to keep people spending all the night in front of their houses to defend themselves, while the reason for this is unclear, and the reason for this, the real reason for this, is due to the regime himself and his police, and they try to show that the criminals are everywhere, just to keep people having fear and not to go and demonstrate and share the protest to this corrupted president and his regime.
Okay, all right, Omar, thank you.
People, to be honest, let us say a word. People are looking for real steps. People can be convinced only when they say that there are a package of improvement, of improving steps.
Okay.
That can let them think about it. But till now, the regime did not declare anything regarding the parliament and the other shura.
Okay, all right,
like
Omar, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you very much indeed. That's Omar, one of the protesters who's been going down to Tahrir Square every day now for the last 13th days, talking to us there from the Egyptian capital. Now, the protests, of course, are not just confined to Cairo. Egypt's second city of Alexandria has also been the scene of massive demonstrations, but people there have been trying to get back to normal life after days of disruption. The traffic has been moving again through the city's streets, and people have been strolling on Sidi Bashir Beach in an apparent return to normality. Well, let's speak to one of our correspondents who's in Alexandria. We're not naming him for his own safety, but he joins us live now on the phone. Alexandria, of course, Egypt's second largest city. Just bring us up to date with what's been happening there. Are things pretty much getting back to normal?
Well, Darren, they are... Many of the anti-government, pro-democracy protesters, not only here in Alexandria but across the country, will tell you that life is as normal as can be in the situation they're faced with, in the sense that people are trying to live whatever they can in terms of semblances of normality, in terms of visiting people. We saw pictures of people here in Alexandria who got married in front of an army tank. However, they remain protesting in the hearts of many cities across Egypt, including Alexandria. So over the past couple of days, we've seen sit-ins, the first of their kind, outside Cairo, where people have not left the main streets here in Alexandria, Abu Qir in front of Sidi Gabr train station, and continue their protests. So there are protests here in Alexandria, as well as we're hearing in other cities, in Ismailia, in Mansoura, in Mahalla and others across the country, Darren.
You've been following these protests now for pretty much most of it. I mean, what's your take on this statement by the Muslim Brotherhood that they will now talk to the government? How's that likely to go down in Alexandria, where you are?
Well, obviously, Alexandria is one of the Muslim Brotherhood's strongholds, but it has come as a surprise to many people, because many believe that the Muslim Brotherhood, as well as the other major opposition figures and parties, were going to hold out on their demand that they will not enter negotiations unless Mubarak left first. So it will be seen as some sort of sign of weakness by them to accept, even if it is negotiation with the vice president, it will be seen as a huge concession that they're doing this. On the flip side, though, it is the first time that the Mubarak regime has actually acknowledged the Muslim Brotherhood as a player. If we look back over the past 30 years, 3 decades, the Muslim Brotherhood has not only been banned and outlawed, has had its top brass routinely rounded up and put in prison, even at times put in front of military jails without the ability to have a fair trial or anything. So it is a shift, and maybe that attempt to get some sort of state legitimacy, if you will, was too much for the Muslim Brotherhood to turn down that offer. The people on the ground, though, however, in the end of the day, are not going to leave unless they feel their demands are met. And this is the interesting thing about this pro-democracy uprising, if you will, across Egypt, Darren, is that it is not controlled by the parties, it is not controlled by the individuals. Obviously, parties and individuals are contributing to the numbers, but in essence, the surge, the real core behind this movement has very simple demands, and it is those demands that have to be met, not negotiations with the Muslim Brotherhood or the West or any other political party that could change things down.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that update. Our reporter there from Alexandria, bringing us up to date. Well, as you heard there, Egypt's largest opposition group says it's now joining talks with the government with a focus very much on the demands of protesters. The banned Muslim Brotherhood had previously said it would not enter any dialogue until President Hosni Mubarak stepped down.
We gave the condition that we didn't want just promises which will disappoint the great people who came out in their millions. They were attacked, and at that time we said we will not speak with the regime if what they say is just promises. We gave the condition that aggression against our people stop. Tens of Egyptians were killed. We gave the condition that anybody who caused harm to the Egyptian people over the past 30 years will be taken to court. We gave the condition that peaceful demonstrations should be the right of all Egyptians. They accepted this. We said the army must stay in its honourable position and support this nationalist movement. This condition was accepted. In light of this, we said this is the beginning of dialogue, this dialogue in which the demands of the people are given, and all groups are with us, including those who've lit the spark which brought the light.
Now, the move by the Muslim Brotherhood follows the mass resignation of leading figures from the ruling National Democratic Party. They include President Mubarak's son and potential successor Gamal. Nick Spicer reports on that and other key developments over the past 24 hours.
Egyptian TV announces big changes in the ruling party. Gone are the executive committee and the president's son, Gamal Mubarak. But it's the father who's got to go for the demonstrators. Army troops tried to take down their barricades earlier in the day. The head of the Army's Central Command came to ask them to go home so the country could go back to normal. They chanted back, "We're not leaving, he is." But Hosni Mubarak wasn't. Not yet, anyway. He met with senior cabinet members to talk about the economy, reeling after 1 million tourists fled. Still, the government would slowly get back to business, the Prime Minister told the nation.
I mean, for every day that goes, stability returns and we are more hopeful. We no longer see the events happening like last Friday, and security forces are gradually returning. Today you don't hear about more clashes, which shows that generally things are getting better. The opposition itself is very divided, but this doesn't mean that we won't talk to all parties. In the end, the main thrust of their demands is the same.
But the demands of the international community seem to have changed. In a surprise comment on Saturday, the former U.S. ambassador Washington sent to Cairo to talk to the Egyptian president seemed to back off on none too subtle hints that Mubarak must go.
I therefore believe that President Mubarak's continued leadership is critical. It's his opportunity to write his own legacy. He's given 60 years of his life to the service of his country. This is an ideal moment for him to show the way forward.
U.S. officials quickly said he was speaking as a private citizen and his views were his own. But Western diplomats have been slowly changing their emphasis from the need for immediate transition to the need for an orderly one. with Hillary Clinton saying that could happen under Vice President Omar Suleiman, who reportedly doesn't want to ask Mubarak to leave office right now. And that won't satisfy the tired but proud protesters in Liberation Square. There may be some changes in Egypt's ruling party and even in the views of the international community, but they say they aren't going until their president does. Nick Spicer, Al Jazeera.
Well, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has been sticking to the more measured stance of the White House. Speaking at a security conference in Munich, she reiterated President Obama's call for change.
I urge the leaders of the region to address the needs and aspirations of their people and offer a positive vision for the future, for their sake and for ours.